Rome fell, but not all of it burned. Where the West crumbled, the East endured. Byzantium rose, not in conquest, but in continuity. 1,000 years of fire, faith, and fragile brilliance. This is the story of Byzantium, the empire that kept memory alive. But Justinian's dreams stretched beyond brick and marble. His gaze turned west, to Italy, North Africa, and the old Roman heartlands, now overrun by barbarian kingdoms. There, in the dust of broken aqueducts and forgotten forums, he saw something that still belonged to him, and so he unleashed his sword. Leading this campaign of reconquest was a man as enigmatic as he was brilliant. Belisarius, the general whose loyalty was rivaled only by his genius. With a mere handful of soldiers, often outnumbered, often undersupplied, Belisarius did the impossible. He crushed the Vandals in North Africa in a campaign so swift, so surgical, it left Rome's enemies stunned. Then he turned toward Italy, and after years of bitter struggle, he reclaimed Rome itself. Justinian had done what no emperor in centuries had dared even hope. He had reclaimed the legacy of Augustus and Trajan. He was not just an emperor of the East, he was Rome, reborn in gold and flame. But Justinian was not content with military glory. He sought something eternal, a codified order to outlast stone and empire. Enter the Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law. It was the most ambitious legal reform in the ancient world. Justinian's jurists compiled, clarified, and preserved centuries of Roman law, philosophy, and jurisprudence into a system that would echo across empires and generations. It would become the spine of modern European legal systems. In his laws, Justinian crafted not just an empire, but a civilization with order, reason, and justice at its core. Inside Constantinople, the empire shimmered with splendor. Massive walls protected the city like the armor of a god. Markets overflowed with silks from China, spices from India, and gold from Nubia. Mosaics covered every surface, radiant with blues, purples, and the eternal gleam of imperial gold. The city became the nexus of 3 continents, where Greek learning, Roman law, and Christian theology collided to produce something utterly unique. And yet, beneath this brilliance lay tension. Justinian ruled with a clenched fist. The Nika riots, a near-fatal uprising, had nearly cost him the throne. He responded not with mercy, but with fire and steel. Over 30,000 died in a single day, crushed in the hippodrome under the boots of imperial guards. Constantinople had burned, but from that fire rose Hagia Sophia and a new chapter of greatness. His wife Theodora was no silent empress. Born in the slums, once an actress scorned by the elite, she became the empire's fiercest voice, a co-ruler in every sense. When the palace trembled during revolt, it was she who stood firm, whispering, "Purple makes a fine shroud." This was not the Rome of Caesar or Augustus. It was something more resilient, refined, deepened by faith, scarred by survival, reborn through will. Justinian did not live to see the lasting fruits of every dream. Much of the territory he reclaimed would be lost again after his death. His wars strained the empire's coffers. The plague of Justinian, decimated populations and shattered economies. But for a moment, a luminous, blinding moment, Byzantium had touched the sun. It stood as heir to Athens, Alexandria, and Rome. Its art, law, and spirit would ripple through time long after emperors turned to dust. The West would crumble, but the East would shine. And at the center of it all stood the man who dared to remake a world. Justinian, the last Roman, and the first to envision a civilization reborn. But no golden age lasts forever. Even as Justinian's Constantinople gleamed with marble and echoed with the chants of Hagia Sophia, shadows were beginning to creep beneath the surface. The empire that seemed indomitable stood atop a volcano of unrest, religious, political, and divine. The first crack came not from sword or siege, but from within the soul of the empire. Christianity, once a unifying force, had fractured. Bitter theological disputes over words, symbols, and the very nature of Christ tore through the Eastern Roman world like wildfire. Monophysites, Chalcedonians, Arians, names unfamiliar to the masses, yet deadly in their consequences. Riots erupted, not over taxes or food, but doctrine. Justinian himself found his authority challenged not by foreign kings, but by bishops and monks. Then came the plague. In 541 AD, a silent enemy arrived at Constantinople's docks, aboard ships in the blood of rats. The plague of Justinian would ravage the city, taking nearly a third of the population, including the emperor himself, who barely survived. The great metropolis, once teeming with life and ambition, now echoed with the wails of the dying. Streets became graveyards. The imperial vision of a renewed Roman Empire stalled under the weight of mass death. Amid this devastation, old enemies sensed opportunity. To the east, the Sassanid Empire of Persia surged forward. War broke out, draining resources, soldiers, and morale. While Justinian's generals had once dreamed of reconquering the West, now the East itself seemed under threat. To defend the frontiers, fortresses rose in haste. Gold meant for basilicas now paid mercenaries and repaired border walls, and beneath it all, debt. Justinian's monumental ambitions, from architectural marvels to military campaigns, came at a price. The treasury strained, heavy taxes choked provinces, discontent smoldered. For the first time, whispers of fragility emerged. Could this empire, so radiant, so seemingly eternal, actually falter? Yet the Byzantines were nothing if not survivors. They endured, adapted, recalibrated. But the golden aura was dimmed. The dream of Roman restoration gave way to Byzantine realism. A crossroads had been reached. Hold the line, or lose it all. And just beyond the horizon, new storms gathered. Ones even Justinian's law and brilliance could not foresee. And yet Byzantium endured. Though plague had ravaged her, wars bled her borders, and religious schism tore at her soul, the Eastern Roman Empire did not collapse. It transformed. No longer a conqueror chasing the ghost of ancient Rome, the empire turned inward, fortifying, rethinking, refining. From the ashes of Justinian's ambition rose something even more astonishing: a civilization built to survive. In the chaos, Byzantium found clarity. The vast, overstretched territories of the West were no longer the goal. Instead, Constantinople became the beating heart of a leaner, wiser empire, strategic, economic, and spiritual. Religion, once a battlefield, became a unifying identity. Despite theological divides, the Eastern Orthodox Church crystallized into the soul of Byzantine life. Hagia Sophia, once the symbol of imperial might, became the eternal voice of a people who prayed not just for victory, but for endurance. Bureaucracy matured. Diplomacy replaced blind conquest. The Byzantines perfected the art of survival through alliances, marriages, bribes, and patience. Gold spoke louder than swords. Knowledge shielded more effectively than walls. They became masters of political chess, always 2 moves ahead of their enemies. Even culturally, the Byzantines became guardians of something greater than themselves. While barbarian kingdoms in the West crumbled into illiteracy and feudal fragmentation, Byzantium preserved the ancient world, its manuscripts, philosophies, sciences, and laws. They copied Aristotle while others burned him. They debated Plato while others forgot his name. In a world torn by fire and ignorance, they became a lighthouse of memory. And that is Byzantium's deepest legacy, not just survival, but continuity. The Eastern Roman Empire outlasted the Western Roman Empire by nearly 1,000 years. It witnessed the rise of Islam, the fall of Charlemagne, the birth of the Renaissance, and even the dawn of gunpowder. Why? Because it knew that victory wasn't always glory, it was survival. That civilization isn't just built by heroes and conquests, but by scribes, monks, farmers, and mothers. That even in the darkest centuries, the flame of human knowledge, dignity, and memory must be protected. Even if it flickers, never let it go out. And so, while empires came and went, Byzantium remained. Not invincible, but resilient. Not eternal, but eternally reborn. So as the dust settled over centuries of strife and splendor, one truth emerges from the golden domes and marble streets of Constantinople. The Byzantine Empire was not a shadow of Rome. It was its soul reborn. From the ashes of a crumbling West, it rose, refined, spiritual, resilient. Where others saw chaos, Byzantium built order. Where the world fractured, it held together, and through invasions, plagues, and political storms, it endured, not by brute force, but by adaptation, by belief, by identity. But here's the question: what truly keeps a civilization alive? Is it walls and armies, laws and emperors? Or is it something deeper, a shared memory, a sense of destiny, a story people refuse to let die? Because Byzantium wasn't just a place, it was an idea that Rome could evolve, survive, even thrive long after its legions had vanished. And maybe that's the lesson we still need today. So as we step away from these shimmering mosaics and whispered hymns of Hagia Sophia, one question remains. What can we learn from a world that refused to be forgotten? And what legacy are we building that will echo for 1,000 years? If this journey through Byzantium moved you, imagine what comes next. Like, subscribe, and join us in the trials, betrayals, and final echoes of an empire that defied time itself. History isn't past, it's memory in motion.